council present this afternoon. This meeting is hereby called to order at 6:32 p.m. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off or in the silent mode to avoid any unnecessary interruptions in the meeting. Public comments are only allowed during the public comment portion of the meeting. Please see your agenda. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the city council. You'll be notified at the end of 2 minutes that you have 1 minute remaining. Roll call.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Webb.
Here.
Councilmember Franson. Here. Councilmember Shirey.
Here.
We do not have any minutes from the prior meeting. Any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Pat Johnson.
Hi, I'm Pat Johnson, 3526 Northfield Road in Semmes. And at the meeting for the Parks and Recreation, I was befuddled by the cost-cutting measures that we did on the fire department. I don't understand why it's necessary when we seem to have so much money available, why you would cut the fire department and why you would cut the funding for the food at the concert we have at the high school. That's one opportunity we have in Semmes to dress up if you want to, and have a nice, little evening. It's not a real elegant evening, but it's what we've got. And I like the food to continue. I think that's a nicety. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments?
Yes, Ms. Jeanette Burr.
Ms. Burr?
My name is Jeanette Bird. I live at 5079 Lot Road, and I'm coming to you about the 200-year Alabama bicentennial. And I'm coming on behalf of Semmes Heritage Park. We would like to be designated by the municipality as the official event. Now, what this means is it will be, we've been doing the Heritage Day for 14 years. We've also been guardians of the history of Semmes for 22 years. We're an all-volunteer organization, and it is a wonderful community event. And what will happen is we will get a lot of publicity, including being put in brochures. It will be highlighting Semmes. It will be all over the state. And not only that, think about the welcome stations that will have brochures for the events when you come into Alabama. And so in order for this to happen, there has to be a letter from the mayor and the municipalities. I have a letter for you and the forms for each of you. You will note the letter that is there that explains, a letter requesting, and on your second page, you have the letter of the Alabama municipalities telling you what the requirement is and how to become an official celebration committee. And also the form that has to be filled out. But I believe that we've proven ourselves, and this is a great event for our community. We already do so many things. And even before there was a municipality, there was a town of Semmes that was founded in the 1800s. And this is our history of what we are. And so we're simply requesting that we be designated as the official bicentennial celebration in Semmes for the state of Alabama. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Yes, Mr. David Miller.
Okay. There we go.
Hello, my name is David Miller, 9625 Moffett Road, Unit 9, Semmes, Alabama 36575. Bone marrow liver recipient, advocate for organ and tissue donation. I'm aware that I solicited support from the council and you guys as I attended the transplant games as a representative of the Semmes community. I would like to say that I hold 17 medals, 4 gold from national competition, 17 from national competition, 4 from world competition. Will be attending Spain as a member of Team USA this upcoming summer. Unfortunately, when each one of the donations comes to me and everything else, we all get lost. There should be photographs of where we attended the games, and there should be a pin that is to go back to every person. I'm understanding that certain individuals did not get that, and I would like to refund any of the council who made a donation to support me. At this time, I know Ms. Franson, you did make a donation. Can you recall?
I don't want any money back, David. I gave
Mr.
it in
Webb?
good faith.
Floors and Moore and David Miller feels that this politics going forward to the campaign has a red campaign and a blue campaign. We're all patriotic. I am all for debates. I honestly feel that every person here has a right side to them and a wrong side to them. If I ever speak about you, I feel you can come to my face and we can address it. We're not going to agree on everything. I may want to push Coke on the Coke machine and you may want to push Sprite. We're never going to agree 100%. Debate and working through problems are the best way we can do it.
We have one more.
Half of the red party, half of the blue party, merge this thing together. Let's get through it. But we've all got to live in Semmes, and we've all got to function in Semmes. Now, I understood that I voiced a little bit of a negative about a person running for a campaign. I feel I have a right to share that negative, but that doesn't mean that that person is corrupt and going to hell. Everybody here has faults and positives. I'll just share one negative, and when one negative gets mentioned during this campaign, everybody's running around just blowing that one negative up like it's the biggest thing there is. So, I apologize that Ms. Franson feels that I was negative and dislikes her. I've appreciated the time and input she's put into this council. But I have opinions on certain issues that she's done that I don't agree with. We're never going to agree 100%. So when I point out that I don't feel that that's the smartest thing or that's this, we shouldn't take it as, now you don't like me, and honestly, the quote, you didn't thank me or tell me to kiss your AWS.
Okay, your time's over with.
Thank
Sit down, please.
I'll be glad to refund you, man.
I don't want the money. I gave it in good faith.
Okay, next.
That's all.
Okay, presentations tonight. The first one, the upcoming election presented by our city clerk.
I just wanted to bring to your attention, if you didn't already know, that after Election Day, 7 days following the date of election, which is August 30th, is the date we're supposed to hold the canvas meeting to determine who officially won each place on the city council. And if there are any provisional ballots that were turned in at the polling place, then they'll have to be tallied up that day as well. This meeting is to take place at noon on the 30th. It's in the state code under section 114655, and I've given you a sheet with basic instructions on how we're to follow the process of opening the provisional ballots and counting those votes, and then we'll get the official total after that's done. So, and I will provide all of the supplies that were given to me from the polling place after the election, and I'll be presenting them to you that day. So, any questions?
Yes, we want to know who the winners were for 7 days later.
Well, I can give you an unofficial, but if there are any provisional ballots, they must go down to the Board of Registrars first. The Board of Registrars has to determine whether or not those provisional ballots can actually be counted. And then I have to go and pick those back up and then bring them to you, and you have to open them in this meeting to determine who officially won.
Okay.
We can give an unofficial list, and if there were no provisional ballots, then we can issue the certificate of election the day of the 30th. But we can't do it until then.
That's the law, huh?
Yes, sir.
Sounds like something new, huh?
No, sir,
No.
it's in the code of Alabama.
I've never heard of it, but it's been there a long time. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, next we have a PRF for the mobile pops. Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Thing. I'm the project coordinator for the city of Semmes. My PR tonight is basically addressing what the lady said earlier. And I've heard numerous times people were upset that the budget was cut for the Pops concert and there would be no food, and I heard that repeatedly. So what I put together tonight is to kind of keep it in line with what we've had in the past, although it is quite a bit less than what we have. And I'm also, some of the things that normally get rented for our events, lighting, velvet ropes for like crowd control, we'll be purchasing them this time at almost the same cost as rental, so it'll become assets for the city. So, am I supposed to read all the bill there, or just kind of go over the amounts?
Just go over the amounts, the additional amounts that you're asking for that.
Well, the donation to the Pops is $1,000. $500 to rent the auditorium from the school board. $300 for signs, throughout the city. A billboard for $515. $2,800 for catering, which this time is a little bit different than the one we've had in the past. This is an actual local caterer. It's new, he's new to Semmes, so kind of trying to keep it local. $200 for additional supplies. For the crowd control, it's $300. Normally we spend $200 just to rent them. This is buying them, we own them, and we can use them at a bunch of other events. And the lighting, we're also buying, we can use at other events for $195. A photographer of $130. The florist is $420. The total is $6,360. We were budgeted $5,000 originally, so I'm only asking for $1,360 more. And this is keeping it in line or better than what it has been, because everybody looks at this as kind of the elite thing for the city. I've heard that over and over since I started this. So,
Okay, any questions?
And I guess the advantage is we can reuse this.
exactly. These will be assets and next year for the Pops concert, which is these.
I'd like to see what we can do to increase the promotion for it, especially let the school know that
Right.
they could certainly be involved with their students somehow.
Right, yes, sir. And I will, actually, I met with Mr. Toomey, the principal at Montgomery today, and talked to him, and he's excited about it. And like I said, we put in money for signs and a billboard, but, and we're out in front of this a little bit, so we can actually advertise more on the social side, which works best these days.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we have to review is the proposed budget, and once again, we're gonna do like we did last year. We'll start on the income side, which is usually the side that, Renee? One for Jacob, I'm sorry. One more, sorry. So this is the side we usually have the easiest time to work on, and we can agree on pretty easy. Okay, Okay, we'll go line item by line item. The first is account 46,400. This is other types of income. This includes interest income and things like that. So far this year, what we have estimated that we'll have by the end of the year is around $29,000. Last year, we had budgeted to have $38,000. So I'm proposing to have $30,000 in the budget for this 2016-2017 year. We'll go down the sales tax revenue, the general. We are estimated to have $4,310,590 this year. And I'll tell you how I got these numbers. We went to the end of June 30th, divided that by 3, and then multiplied it times 4 to kind of get a good number. So it's just a good estimate. Last year we had budgeted $4,100,000. I should have bought this for the overhead. I didn't think about that. So I'm projecting or proposing an increase in the budget on sales tax general revenue to $4,200,000. Okay. Sales tax manufacturing, we budgeted $4,000. Looks like we're going to have $4,145. So once again, I'm budgeting $4,000. On the vending, we budgeted $2,000 last year. We're coming in, looks like at $2,140, very close. So I'm leaving that at $2,000. The sales tax on the rental side, we budgeted $50,000. It looks like we're going to come in around $52,596. So I'm budgeting around $50,000 on that, the same as last year. Sales tax lodging, we had budgeted $33,000. It looks like we're going to come in around $22,077. So I'm dropping that one back to $20,000. Now all these are up for discussion. The local, we'll start with the sales tax on the gas. The local gas tax, that's the 4 cents per gallon. We budgeted $270,000. We're coming in at $247,753. One of the reasons of that, we lost one gas station that closed on Snow Road, and I think it's recently opened again. So I'm budgeting around $250,000 there. Now the sales tax on the gas can only be used for road maintenance, so it's not something we can really consider for general fund. The 4 cent gas tax, we had budgeted $19,000. We come in at $20,818. This is a sales tax that's actually we received back from the state of Alabama. And this is also something we can only use for road maintenance. So I'm estimating $20,000 for the budget on that this next year. The 5 cents gas tax, we budgeted $10,000. Looks like we're going to come in around $12,500. So once again, I said $10,000. The 7 cent gas tax, we budgeted $34,000, but it looks like we're going to come in around $38,000. So I bumped that up to $35,000. So on the sales taxes total for the gas, last year we budgeted $333,000, and I'm looking at $315,000 for this year. Like I said, all that money has to go to road maintenance. That's not anything that can go into the general fund. Consumer's use tax, we had budgeted $18,000, but it looks like we're going to come in around $28,142, which is a lot higher than what we expected. This is because this past month we had we received one deposit, and we think it may be an error, and we're having RDS check that out, it was way too much. So since that's going to be checked out, we're going to look at $20,000. We are going to raise it some, but I do believe there was an error. I think someone listed us incorrectly and paid us instead of somebody else. The seller's use tax, we budgeted $146,000. Looks like we're coming in way above that at $182,000. So I said $150,000. So the total on the sales tax revenue, we had budgeted before $4.74 million, and I would like to raise that up this year to $4.815. Okay? Miscellaneous revenue, these are things like lots of different things. It could be notary fees, copy fees, just lots of different fees, different types of things that we do charge for. Oh, I'm sorry, that's on the public service. Miscellaneous revenue, this is something different. This is the taxes that we receive back from Mobile County. It may be from sales taxes on vehicles. They give us a little portion of that. And also on tags that they sell for boats and trailers and things like that, and cars. We had budgeted last year $13,000, but we've come in at $23,000. So it's much higher, it's $10,000 more. So I'll raise that to $20,000 for this year. Business license fees, we budgeted $236,000. It looks like we're gonna come in around $230,000. So I went back again with $230,000. The franchise taxes, we budgeted $334,000, but we ended up, actually, we're gonna end up around $500,000. One of the reasons for that is the increased annexations kicked in for the first part of this year. So we got an increased amount on the Alabama Power franchise agreement. And also the other thing that kicked in was the AT&T agreement. So I'm budgeting $500,000 for this next year. Permit fees, these are the permit fees for land disturbance permits, building permits, and things like that. We budgeted $110,000 this past year, and we're gonna come in around 102, 103. So I just took that back to 100,000. Planning commission fees, we had budgeted $13,000. We're gonna come in around 38 to 4 on that. So I budgeted $3,500 for this next year. Public service fees, we budgeted $3,000. We're gonna come in right around $3,000, so I'm gonna leave that alone. And then the last is the Christmas parade entry fees. We had budgeted $1,000. That's about where we came in at, so I said $1,000 on that. So I would like to propose that we, on the revenue side, not counting the other types of income, raise that up. We budgeted $5.45 million total for last year. I'd like to raise that up to $5.672. So the total on the income side, along with the other types of income, that would raise our number up. Last year we budgeted 5.488, and this year I would like to propose 5.702 on that. So, and everyone has a copy of this, so y'all can take this and study it, and we can discuss it again some more at the next meeting. Are there any questions?
I have a question. What is the title on the bottom line here?
Total income, I'm sorry. I should say total income.
You need to know what lines it's a total of.
It's gonna
Is
total-
this excluding the fuel?
No, sir. It's the total of line number 46,400, the other types of income, with the revenue income. If you look at the way it's indented here on the side, you can kind of see like all this total is sales tax for gas. And then, so it's kind of, so the total income is gonna be the revenue income plus the other types of income. So, for example, the 30,000 at the top plus the 5.672.
All right, thank you.
Questions on that, but everybody can take that home and study that and come back with proposals and changes, and we will be discussing this again in the next finance committee meeting. Okay, the next thing I would like to talk about, and we do have a lot of people here tonight. This is actually something that's come up in the Parks and Rec as well as the Finance Committee. Renee? I want me give us as much time as what we're really gonna need to discuss the grants for the coming year. So everybody will have, a little bit more time to work on that. Okay, on the, last year, the admin grants for schools for arts, we had budgeted 40,000, but so far we've only spent 29,000, so we're under budget there. The Semmes Senior Center, we had budgeted 12,480, and we actually, with all the discretionary funds that were allowed, it came in at 31,000. The Boys and Girls Club, we had budgeted 10,000 and they received 10,000. The Heritage Park, 10,000, they had received 10,000. And then the fire department, we budgeted 200,000 and they've received 200,000. Any questions on any of those?
One question on the schools. Is there, we still have money left on that, what we budgeted,
Yes.
and they can still get that through before the end of September?
Mhm.
So it's
11 left.
Right.
11,000 left, but they can still ask for it yet if needed.
Right. Now, I think so far this year, we've just given, what did we do,
Choir
the choir and some instruments.
to the, and to the Semmes Middle School instrument.
Right. So, but so there is funding left on that.
But they have to ask for it.
Right. Okay, any other questions? Let's move on to the ordinances. First ordinance, or the only ordinance on the agenda tonight, the noise ordinance for the city of Semmes. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Madam President. Let's look first at the preamble to this. I'll read it for the benefit of everybody present here. Let's see if we, the preamble, of course, sets the purpose and direction, and if we all agreed on the purpose and direction, then we have to move next to the implementation. So let's see if we all agree on the proposition that we're going on here. Noise ordinance for the city of Semmes. Whereas it is the duty and the desire of the city council of the city of Semmes to encourage, promote, and preserve the natural, quiet, and peaceful environment of our city, free from excess and objectionable noise which may be a detriment to health, welfare, and safety, and which degrades the quality of life. And whereas living together in a city requires mutual consideration and degrees of mutual accommodation, and whereas it falls the duty of the city council to establish city policy and civic standards to which all citizens may resort now, therefore noise is deemed a nuisance and therefore is prohibited within the jurisdiction of the city of Semmes. And I'd like to hear if anybody has sort of agrees with that direction of things, or is there any objection to putting some standards in place, some policy in place by the city? Yes, sir.
I have one comment.
Okay.
Therefore, put the word excessive in front of noise.
Mhm.
That's the only, just plain noise, no, but excessive noise, I agree.
I think that's an excellent comment myself. Very good.
I think it's needed, because we had numerous citizens come in and voice their concerns about loud noises late at night and not being able to hear conversations in their own quarters. I think it's certainly needed.
And with that, we're really talking about only a handful of situations where somebody is really going beyond the limits there and not being good neighbors. And so we're talking about setting a standard first that everybody's going to understand. Listen, we do have a standard. It's not just a Wild West in terms of noise. But let's put a little note on the side there and see if everybody, when we get to voting on things, if that excessive would not be a good thing to put in there. I think I totally agree with Mr. Shard. All right, then we start getting into implementation. It shall be unlawful for any person to play, use, or operate, or permit to be played, used, or operated any radio, tape player, cassette player, compact disc player, or other machine or device for producing sound in or on any public property, including any public street, road, building, sidewalk, or park, in such a manner that the sound generated is plainly audible at a distance of 25 feet or more from the source of the sound. This is, I didn't invent this. In fact, when I saw this on somebody else's plan, I thought, aha, now we're talking about something here. We're not talking about going around with a noise meter, because you don't have a noise meter generally handy at your house when you need it. So, but if you can hear it, like if a car, say, is on the road, I don't care, and I don't think you do, how loud it is inside the car, but when it's broadcasting into your bedroom or into your yard, then it's your business. So that's where this comes into play. It doesn't take an instrument. If you can plainly hear it, then they are coming across the line into your yard, and now it's your business. So that's the idea here. And I want to know if anybody would say this is unreasonable. If it's unreasonable, then we don't want to do it. Does anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Does that include gunshots?
Well, that's an excellent point. Excellent point. It does make noise, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly does.
Is this included in this noise?
Well, it makes noise, and we're going to have to, we will have to address that. And frankly, I've been working on this for over a year, and then just had a breakthrough recently on it. My belief is that we need to deal with guns in a separate ordinance. That's my belief. But I think you're right. I think it frankly does come under this. If somebody is firing a weapon right next to your house, that is making noise.
Mm-hmm. I have a skeet shooter living next door to me, so he makes a lot of noise.
Okay.
I don't mind the skeet shooting, but I don't like the noise.
I understand. I totally understand. Excellent point. Excellent point.
And if a bullet goes up, it's gonna come down somewhere.
Yes. Yes, it
I
is.
think I think we have laws that requires a distance from a residence, anything to fire a gun.
No,
period.
No, there's
No.
no gun ordinance.
Well,
Yes,
No.
there is a gun
No.
ordinance.
I talked
State
to him
Alabama.
trying to get the guy with the skeet shooting apparatus to see if
Oh,
I could
he's
get him to
got a
stop
bid.
it.
That's a different story.
That's his personal hobby.
Oh.
He got it for Christmas. And there's
All
no
right.
way I could stop him in any way. Any police, no sheriff, no nothing, there's nothing. And
Mr.
to
Miller?
stop him.
excuse me, Mr. Miller?
I mean, this kind of seems a little unrealistic, but I mean, would the EMS not be able to use their sirens at night then?
That's a
Oh,
different
no,
thing.
we're going to get to exclusions at the back end here. There are
Ice
exclusions.
cream man, I mean, I like him coming around my neighborhood.
You're right.
I go for it.
We're going to have a number of exclusions. For example, lawnmowers are categorically excluded. We'll get to that in just a
I
minute.
think there's a respectful way to respect your neighbors.
Yes.
Okay, but I mean, putting this 25 foot and then hauling somebody off because of somebody's cutting the grass and, you know, they had to change the muffler, I mean, that's kind of
Well, that's,
excessive.
the lawnmowers are excluded, and a whole lot of other things are excluded too, because we have to live with that kind of. All right, let's go to the next thing. Number 2, it shall be unlawful for any person to play, use, or operate any radio, tape player, cassette player, compact disc player, or any other machine or device for producing sound in any motor vehicle on a street or highway in such a manner that the sound generated is plainly audible at a distance of 25 feet or more from the motor vehicle. And I think kind of we all understand what that is when you have a
Yes.
car that drives down the street and drives you out of your mind with the sound. They basically ought to keep the sound inside the car somehow or other. That's the proposition here. Also, just a little side note, if you try to use a noise meter, they're already down the street before the noise meter can actually give you a reading that you could use in court. You would have to ask the perpetrator to stop right there and hold it for 10 or 20 seconds before you get a reading, and of course, that's not gonna work. Yes, sir.
Aren't things like this supposed to go through a committee first? And then when it's agreed on through a committee, then it comes to the council to talk about? Because you're wasting a lot of people's time.
Not necessarily. These things can come, they can come from you, they can come from anybody. They can submit it and it can be considered. This one was assigned to me by the mayor over a year ago under the heading of nuisance ordinances. And so I've been working on a whole set of those. So this requires some degree of technical
There's a
knowledge
special
and
projects
experience.
committee.
So again?
There's a special projects committee
Right.
that should go through.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, there's one other one, number 3. Possession by a person or persons of any of the machines or devices enumerated above shall be prima facie evidence that person operates, or those persons operate the machine or device from which a complaint arises. This is because of the problem when a policeman comes up and they turn it off and they say, "It wasn't me." Well, you know, it was them. It was their problem. All right. Now, next section. Noise in residential areas is restricted out of consideration for home dwellers. Number 1, it should be unlawful for any person to use, operate, or permit to be used or operated any device, radio, musical instrument, television, phonograph, drum, sound amplifying equipment, or device which produces or reproduces sound, either stationary or mobile, in such a manner as to create any noise which exceeds 85 dBA during the hours 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., or which exceeds 50 dBA from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. at any residential property line or upon any public street or right-of-way within or bordering upon any residential property other than their own within the police jurisdiction of the city of Semmes. Yes, sir.
I think we had agreed last council meeting to strike all the DBs, and it's still in here. You don't, like you just said, by the time you get there with a DB meter, you can't measure because it's gone, they've shut it down. By the time a police officer comes in with a blue line, they've already shut it down. So I think, again, as we agreed last council meeting, we need to strike all references to decibels.
Very good. We didn't vote on that, so but let's mark that whole section for an amendment that you were proposing, all right? Strike Mr. Shirey.
And I have another comment still
Yes, sir.
on 25 feet. My house is about 75 feet from the road. Most people's homes are more than 25 feet from the road. So I would rather, let's say, at least 40 feet versus 25. And driving down the street, 25 is not too bad. With boom boxes, yeah, they can be 50 feet from you and grab your car. But driving by my house, I've had boom boxes in my neighborhood that go by, and if I'm in the house with the door closed, I can't hear. So I think 25 is probably a little too far. That's my personal opinion.
All right, now one of the most controversial sections comes up next, that's sound trucks. It shall be unlawful for any person by agent or otherwise to operate on or along the streets, sidewalks, or other public places of the city or its police jurisdiction any vehicle with a loudspeaker, radio, or other instrument in operation when the sound from such instrument can be heard in the buildings adjoining the street, sidewalk, or other place along which the vehicle containing the sound-producing instrument is traveling. Sound trucks. The controversial thing is that's been brought up that this would somehow or other prohibit the ice cream man from operating. And we have another provision down below that says it's okay for the sound man, for the ice cream man. We're not going to give them a hard time.
Don't take that away, please.
Say
I
again?
love ice cream.
Right. No, we don't want to mess with the ice cream man. Okay. Now, here's where we get to the exceptions. The prohibitions of this ordinance shall not apply to any athletic event, cultural event, or concert authorized by the city. They can go down and have a parade or anything, and the band can be playing, and it's okay. Number 2, noise created by government workers or contractors or utility company workers while working on roads and right-of-ways. And I think we pretty well understand that. We want them to get the work done and make the noise and get it done and enjoy the product. 3, noises from authorized activities. The prohibitions of this ordinance shall not apply to any activities which are permitted by law and for which a license or permit has been granted by the city, including, but not limited to, parades, sporting events, concerts, and fireworks displays. Number 4, sirens and horns. The provisions of this ordinance shall not apply to any siren or horn used by public safety or other motor vehicles and trains as warning devices. 5, burglar alarms. The provision of this ordinance shall not apply to any burglar alarm or security device provided. However, the burglar alarms and security devices shall be silenced as soon as practical and no later than 15 minutes after activation. 6, construction activity or equipment. The provision of this ordinance shall not apply to any construction activity or equipment operated between the hours of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Domestic power equipment. Now here's where your lawnmowers come in, chainsaws, things like that. The provisions of this ordinance shall not apply to any domestic power equipment operated between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Do you think those are reasonable hours for mowing lawns and things like that? Okay.
As long as it's a daylight.
Right. Yes, sir.
During the summer.
In the event of a hurricane or something like that, this thing needs to go down because I'm gonna run my.
Oh, excellent point. I think we have something in there about that, but if we don't, I don't think we're gonna be around taking tickets, giving tickets during the hurricane. You're right. All right, now here's where we get into the painful part, penalties for failure to comply with this ordinance. Number 1, a written warning shall be issued for a first violation. Now, in some cases, some people have been causing noise for years and years on end, but they still get one written warning to try to get squared away. 2, upon a second violation, a fine not to exceed $300 may be assessed, together with court costs and/or the suspension of any city permits issued to the offending party. 3, upon any offenses after the second, city may assess a fine of up to $500 per incident, plus court costs, and/or confiscate all sound equipment used in the offense. By way of reference, City of Mobile, where we have here confiscate the sound equipment, in the City of Mobile ordinance, they can put you in jail. And I thought that was a little much. And so we're saying if somebody is chronically abusing the privilege of being in the city, after the 3rd time, the city may, it doesn't say it shall, it says may, if looking at the situation, if the person is being very difficult, we may confiscate their sound equipment. Any comments or on that, additions, or any thoughts so far? All right, then,
I have a question.
yes, sir. Mr. Webb.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering what right this city would have to confiscate the personal property of a citizen of this city in the United States. We have strict property rights that are protected under the Constitution, that people can't just come and confiscate your property like this. And I also am wondering what it means when you say that on the second violation, there could be a suspension of any city permits issued to the offending party. Does that, like, what kind of permit would you take away from the citizen?
I don't know, any permit they might happen to have for something. In other words, it's just if they're abusing their privileges, then that's a possibility.
So if they had a permit, let's say a business license, So you could take away their business license if they were noisy in the neighborhood that they live in? I'm just wondering what suspension of permits means.
Well, the thing about it is, we have to,
A building permit is what Mr. Showery's saying. You're gonna take away a building permit?
if they're abusing their privilege of living in the city here, and they're being abusive to their neighbors, then we have to give the city the capability of exerting some force on them. I'd like to toss this question to our city attorney to answer Ms. Branson's question there, and let's get the legal opinion on that, because we want to follow the law and do the right thing on that. Is there any problem, Mr. City Attorney, in confiscating somebody's boom box as opposed to putting him in jail?
Well, the law allows the municipalities to pass ordinances like this as long as the penalty is no more than $500 or Class C misdemeanor. I guess what you would need to look at is whether a Class C misdemeanor would allow you to confiscate someone's property. I'd have to look that up. It's just off the top of my head opinion, I don't think so. But there are plenty, not to say that per se you can't take someone's property. There's plenty of crimes where stuff is confiscated, but whether you could take noise equipment of whatever kind, I don't know. I'll have to look if that's possible under a Class C misdemeanor. Regarding the permits, I don't think you could, unless the activity was related to the permit, I don't think you could suspend the permit. You know, a lot of these ordinances in cities have a fee schedule for permits relating to sound, like an ice cream truck or whatever. Now, if you know, somebody in that scenario was, let's say they were blasting their ice cream truck at deafening levels, then you could probably pull their permit. But like Mr. Shire and Ms. Franson said, I think it's going to be a stretch to take somebody's building permit because they're playing their stereo too loud. You know, especially if they paid the fine.
Well, if I might point out, it says they could do this or confiscate equipment. In other words, it might be kinder to confiscate a $50 boombox than it would be to fine them $500. Is the proposition here. But if we could get a written opinion from you on this, that would be very, very helpful. And I'd appreciate it, because we want to do this correctly, and that's why we're talking about it now. We don't want to do anything
I might be able to find
halfway. So maybe before we actually bring this up for a vote, we could get a written opinion, and we will follow that opinion. Yes, sir.
Who's going to issue the citation for the excessive noise? Who's going to enforce that?
Whoever we've got, could be done by a citizen calls in, and it could be referred to the sheriff's department, or it could be referred to anybody according to
we have a code enforcer.
Code enforcement.
Is he here tonight? No. But anyway.
Yes, sir.
How was that coming about?
Okay, here's the proposition. Going back to the the top of this, the whole proposition here is to establish a standard can all agree upon. Once we have established the standards for the city, that gets it down to a very few people that are going to be abusing this, because most people will naturally follow the law, and there will not be but a handful of things that come to issue.
Would
When
they
they
be
do-
arrested and,
Well, it says be given a written warning to start with.
after that, second time, what happens?
They will be basically issued a ticket to appear.
Would they have to make bond?
Well, in a bad, normally it would just be the personal appearance.
We need to work on this a little more.
All right.
Some other time.
All right, very good. That pretty well completes it. There, the technical definitions, but those are pretty standard and pretty well understood. And so we'd like to offer to set it on the table, waiting for a written opinion from the attorney. And we mark a couple of items here, the one that Mr. Shire brought up, for a motion to amend, or would the council like us to go back and retool it with your remarks in mind before we bring it up again?
Yeah, it needs some more work.
All right. Madam President, I'd like to hear a sense of the council on that.
So, I guess what I need to ask, do you think you'll have this ready for the next council meeting, or?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and that date would be, sorry, phone slip. First council meeting in September. The 6th. Tuesday, September 6th. So we'll put that as a holdover. If everyone is pretty much in the room, we'll just do that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, resolutions on the agenda tonight. Authorizing the expenditure of funds to purchase fireproof file cabinets for storage of public records. This was actually held over from the previous meeting, and I'm going to let Brandy talk about that just a little bit.
I was referred to an authorized vendor from the state bid list, and so I took out the approval date on the resolution, and I attached 2 quotes that I received from the vendor, and the first one is the Century Safe fire files. I'm sorry, I get tongue-tied. And these are a little bit smaller than what we've used in the past. We actually have some Fire Kings file cabinets now in City Hall, and they're a little bit bigger, which that's the next one, the 4,702 a piece. So I've attached these quotes for you guys to look at, and you can give me some guidance on how to move forward if you want to accept one of these, or I can put it out to bid. And we'll probably go with 2 circulations in the newspaper, and I'll post in 3 posting places, and then we'll see what we get in return.
What was the price, you had gotten from Staples originally?
That's actually the amount that's on the resolution. I didn't mess with that. And they quoted, I believe it was $3,000 a piece.
Staples did for the Fire King?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is $1,700 per
Right.
file cabinet more.
Right, and Staples was offering a volume discount is the reason they were able to go so low. But they would have to, of course, turn in a bid packet, since we've received guidance from the council to either go to bid or use state bid list. So that was my first option.
Did you say the Century Safe is smaller than the Fire?
Yes, sir. Actually have some pictures I could show you if you want to see them. Here's use the Fire King's file cabinets we use now. This is exactly what we have in City Hall, the same color and style. And the Century safes are a different color. They're more narrow. It really only differs by a few inches in depth and width, and they're actually a little bit taller. But they're a darker color, and they still hold legal and letter size files, so it wouldn't be much of a difference.
So the capacity is
Just a
possibly
couple,
the same?
yeah, basically.
Which do you like the best?
Well, we're used to the Fire Kings, but the quote we received was just so much different than what Staples was able to quote us.
Is there any difference in the rating, the fire rating?
Not that I can tell. Both of them, I think, rated at 1 hour.
Okay.
I think you can get them with a higher fire rating, but of course you're going to pay for it. So.
And how many were you looking at buying?
8 total.
8.
That's the what we have space for next door.
Would these fit in the same places?
Yes, ma'am.
If you get the Century safe, could you possibly squeeze a 9th one in? Because 3,000 for one of those versus 4,700 for the others would be a lot better sense to me to get the 3,000 with
Right.
the same fire rating.
I really couldn't tell you. I didn't do the measuring. I had our head carpenter do that, so I could ask him to measure it out again and let me know if it would, because the width is, let's see, I have it here. Yeah, here it is.
39, yeah.
Let's see. 29 and there's about a 2-inch difference in width. The Fire King is a 31 and 3/16, and the Century Safe is a 29 and 3/4. So it's not much different.
Not enough to get an extra one, but
No, sir.
personally, I would say let's go with the $3,000 if it's the same fire rating. That's saving $1,700 a piece. That's a good savings. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, Mr. Baker, any comments?
No, just,
Mr. Smith?
No comment?
No comment, thanks.
Ms. Franson?
I just have a question. So it would be 24,000 for the Century safe from Granger, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it would have been 23,900 for the Fire King from Staples,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
I see 37,800 for the Fire King.
That's Granger,
Yeah. Okay. But how many was it at Staples?
same amount, 8.
Right, for 23 something?
For less than 24,000.
The only difference here is that Granger's certified by the state to be a vendor on the state bid list. Otherwise, if we wanted to go with the Staples price, we'd have to put it out to bid and see if they turn in the same thing. So,
That's an auto, if Staples are gonna give it to us for 23, sure.
It was a volume kind of
Yeah.
deal that they were giving her.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, not always the state bid list is the best deal. So,
I was just bringing you what was returned to me so you would know where I'm at on it. And,
Will these not constitute the bids against Staples, so you don't have to go out again?
no, this wasn't put out to bid. This was returned from the state bid list contractor.
Okay.
So, if you want me to go out to bid, I need a motion in order to do so.
I think we have to, if it's over 15,000, don't we, Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to.
I have a question. The Granger on the Century, did those include the delivery like state?
Yes, ma'am.
It did.
White glove delivery, that means they bring them in and place them exactly where you need them.
Do we need, if we need a motion, we do that next meeting, right? And then- okay.
Okay. Any other comments on this resolution? next resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds to host City of Semmes Presents an Evening with the Mobile Pops. And we did have the PRF that was presented by Amanda. Any comments on this from Mr. Baker?
I just had a question for Amanda.
I think she's.
Is Amanda's out?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I just had a question, Amanda, that, last year, wasn't the fee $1,500?
Yes, sir, I believe it was last year.
This is the fee that was given to me, this one for this year, $1,000, that's what was given to me at the beginning when I started this. And I thought you brought that paper for this year to be 1,000.
I'll check, I thought it was $1,500. I thought it was $1,500 for inside and $2,000 for outside
Okay.
concert.
Well, I mean, just let me know, because the one I got said $1,000 for the pops and the 500 for the school.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, I knew the cost for the rental of the thing. Yeah. But I believe my understanding is it's $1,500
okay,
for that. If we could, maybe we could amend that.
okay. Yes.
Everything else is fine. I want to comment on, yeah, I think as was said by the members in the audience tonight, this is our one really formal night out.
Yes, sir.
And it is good to have hors d'oeuvres and special events one night a year for people to enjoy. And it's for all people, and we truly hope that the entire town will turn out and enjoy themselves and have a good night. So that's great.
Okay, any other comments?
I'm all for it with the, moving it up to $6,860.
Can I have Mr. Webb?
No.
Ms. Franson?
No comment.
And Mr. Shirey?
I think it's great. It's our premier event. It's something I think our citizens are proud of and they enjoy coming. You know, I just can't get them to play in the mood for us to dance up front.
Okay.
It's still on request.
Still on request. Okay, committee reports, Park and Recreation, Mr. Shirey.
We had a meeting the other night, and we discussed primarily Semmes Heritage Park and the Senior Center. And that TRF, I think, will be coming next meeting. And essentially, I think we're going to shoot for about the same thing we had last year. We talked a little bit about the disc golf. It is not finished yet. They're working on it. I think the last estimate I got was anywhere from 300 to 600 people using the splash pad on the weekend.
No, per day.
Per day.
Per day.
I don't know where they all can get on there at one time.
They kind of rotate in and out all day, so that's,
And then once we get the disc golf open, hopefully the picnic tables and garbage cans and barbecue grills will be put in the area there by the fish pond too. So if they're not throwing their dish, they can come back and cook their burgers.
yeah. And on the disc golf, I do have an update. They have completed clearing out the fairways for holes 1 through 6, 10, 11, 12, and 16. So they've gotten a huge start on that. If we can just keep the rain away for a little bit longer, it will be so nice, but it's hard for them to get in there and work when it's real boggy and wet. But they've gotten a good bit of that done. And as soon as they get a little bit further along, then Mr. John Hope can come back again for the next segment of work. So let's see. We did talk about the grants for Heritage Park and also for the Senior Center. And I've been thinking a little bit, and I've been talking to some of the people from the Senior Center, and I also talked to Ms. Hudson, Commissioner Hudson, just more about the need for more room and a bigger facility, a larger facility. there just isn't enough room for everything that y'all need to do there. And Ms. Hudson agreed, and she said there is some plans to possibly start working on some sort of an addition or something. And I would like to propose, as we start working on the budget for this next fiscal year, to maybe look into some sort of partnership with Mobile County to get moving quicker on some sort of facility there, an addition. And we talked about a couple of different things. One would be maybe a separate building, so we wouldn't be connected to the original facility, the original senior center, and maybe some sort of multi-purpose type building that would we could use for a lot of different things, that the whole community could use for a lot of different things. And we've got someone in our public works department, Jason Franklin, and he's done an excellent job, and our public works facility's done an excellent job with our training facility, building our training facility. And I'd like to kind of look at some cost maybe and think about that moving into this next fiscal year. It may not be something we can do immediately, but maybe it's something we can do over the course of a year. And I would just like to see, I know when I go there once a month, and the biggest challenge is, where's everybody gonna sit? Where's everybody gonna go?
Yes, Judy, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I would like to, yeah, I would definitely like to look at that. I think that would serve a huge need for the facility, and also make it so that you can have more functions there for the seniors. So possibly you could rent out a facility that would be larger, that people could come to, that would generate more revenue for the senior center. And but I would like to throw that out there and let the council think about that as we go forward, moving with some of the expenses for the budget for this next year. So, okay, finance goals. Okay, we did complete the first step, which is the income portion of the budget for next year. We didn't complete it, but actually it's out there for us to start working on, and maybe at the next meeting, I'm hoping we can start, maybe get that portion of that approved and move forward on the expense portion, get started on that. Okay, are there any further council or staff comments tonight?
I did have one thing. We briefly touched on it at the last meeting, but the Passaic City Church has offered us the use of their hall for our City of Semmes posting of the Mobile Municipal League dinner. And I wanted to ask the council if that was agreeable to everyone. That would be as opposed to the community center. The community center is a wonderful facility and we all like it and use it, but it's not in the city limits. So if there's any comment, anybody opposed to that, or I welcome.
Was they see the Church of Christ?
Yes, yes.
Close.
Yeah. When asked, everybody would just say, that's okay.
Great.
A good place.
I think a great place. Could we maybe
Get to.
maybe do some sort of donation for the use of the building? I think that would be that'd be very nice.
Okay. Is that it? Everyone
Certainly
agreeable with that?
Yes, sir.
Great,
Okay.
great.
Any further council or staff comments tonight?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 7:41. Council present, this meeting is hereby called to order at 7:57 p.m. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off or the silent mode to avoid any unnecessary interruptions in the meeting. Public comments are only allowed during the public comment portion of the meeting. Please see your agenda. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the city council. You'll be notified at the end of 2 minutes that you have 1 minute remaining. Okay, roll call.
Mayor Hill,
Here.
Councilmember Baker,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Webb,
Here.
Councilmember Franson,
Here.
Councilmember Shirley.
Here.
Invocation, please. I'm going to pick on Mr. Jason Franklin back there for both today.
Yes, please. Lord, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for all you've done for us, Lord. Thank you for making this city what it is, Lord. I ask you to keep it strong and safe, Lord. Be with all our elected leaders, Lord. I ask you to bless us tonight, protect us, Lord, lead, guide, and direct us in everything we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Stacy. We do not have any minutes for review. Any public comments? Okay, and presentations or guest speakers. Resolutions tonight on the agenda. Authorizing the expenditure of funds to purchase fireproof file cabinets for storage of public records. We discussed and reviewed this in the work session earlier. Do I have a motion for immediate consideration and to waive the reading?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Franson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirey?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes. Okay. Let's see. So we have actually several options. One is to go out to bid. The second option would be to purchase from Granger the Century safes. And the third option would be to purchase the Fire King safes from Granger. Okay, discussion from council, Mr. Baker.
I guess, as was mentioned before, a question back to council, in regard to these fireproof safes, what's your opinion as to how it should be moved forward at this point? Bid?
Well, I mean, if it's over 15,000, you need to bid it, unless you've got a better option on the state bid list. That's really up to y'all.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
My understanding, subject to being corrected, and you can correct me, is that things that are listed on the bid list are, we can buy them right straight off of that without any
Yes.
further ado, right?
That's right.
So the prices here are comparable. I mean, we're talking about a few $49 between this and that.
Yes, sir.
So that if time is of the essence, then we could just buy the ones from Granger and proceed immediately, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, my opinion is that $49 shouldn't stand between us and going ahead with a major purchase like this that's needed right now.
Okay, Mr. Webb?
Brandy, which do you think would do the best job?
Really, it's,
Either one?
I mean, yes, they rated the same fire rating. The only difference is just a couple of inches in the dimensions, and there's the difference in the color. They're both lockable, so it's really up to you.
Who gave the best price? Cheapest?
Well, Granger offered, let's see, it's in the back of your
I'm sorry.
resolution. Granger offered $24,000 for the Century safe, and that's 8 file cabinets. And then they also offered $37,000 for 8 of the Fire King safes. So the 24 is really the best from the state bid list.
Okay, Ms. Franson?
I think the last city council meeting, time was of the essence, and because it is, then I think we ought to let Brandy go ahead and use the state list and get what she needs. And rather than do the bids, it'll take forever, and she needs what she needs, and she needs it now. So even though the Fire King is better, and it's cheaper doing it through Staples, but since we can't do that because of the 15 grand thing, then we'll have to just do safe and go with it.
Okay, Mr. Shirey?
Okay, I don't know the difference as far as quality of Century and Fire King. I don't know that Fire King is that much better, but the Century is, like she said, maybe 2 inches narrower. But for $24,000 versus $37,000, I would recommend that we go with the Century safes and get them out. Like Ms. Franson said, the need is urgent, and it would take a minimum of 30 days, minimum, to go out on bid. My recommendation, like Ms. Franson, is go with the Century safe.
I believe that the file cabinets are comparable, that's one thing. And this one, the Centuries are a little bit smaller, which is good because it'll fit into the measured space that we already have, so that won't be a problem. So, and it did include the delivery, which I think is important, so.
Do you need a motion to go with the Century safe? If so, I'll make the motion.
We need to amend the resolution to say an amount not to exceed $24,000. Okay? And maybe say
Change it
purchase,
from Staples to
right, and,
Ranger.
right, and put for purchase from Granger. With, and maybe even add, you know,
8 Century safes.
yes. Okay? So do I have a motion to,
So moved.
As
As
amended.
amended. okay,
Second.
okay, roll call vote?
Councilmember Baker?
Yeah.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Franson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirey?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes. Okay, the motion to adopt the resolution carries is now approved. The next resolution is authorizing the expenditure of funds to host City of Semmes Presents an Evening with the Mobile Cops. We reviewed and discussed this in the work session earlier. Do I have a motion for immediate consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Franson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirey?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes. The motion for immediate consideration and to waive the reading carries. Discussion from council.
Just
Baker.
as we had discussed, just the donation would be 1,500 instead of 1,000.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I move to amend it as to include that extra $500.
Okay, Mr. Webb?
Second. Yes. Oh. Yes. Yes.
Ms. Franson?
So that would change the total to 6860.
Yes. Okay, and Mr. Shirey?
I agree with amending to make the total 6860, give that extra 500 to the bottom.
Okay.
Can we, go out of turn? Since it's 6860, why don't we just round it off to $7 grand
Okay.
and have
Not to
it
exceed.
not to exceed $7 grand? That way, if there's a little bit of,
Yeah, order, like I said.
yeah, if there's any fluctuation in the price of anything, it'll take care of it.
Agree totally.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt a resolution with the price change to not to exceed $7,000?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Franson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirey?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes. Okay, the motion to adopt the resolution carries is now approved. Is there any other council or staff comments tonight? Or anything else that needs to come before the council?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8:07 p.m.
Get that.